Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is Dr. Nick Schlereth. I'm an assistant professor of recreation sport management. Welcome to my session. Welcome to my session on sports betting. So let us get started as we take a look and learn more about that. Share the screen with you. Now, what are we diving into, and what is this thing of sports betting? Sports betting is a unique area. For me, I'm originally from Florida, and then living here in South Carolina and other places. Betting really wasn't talked about. We didn't discuss it that much. It wasn't that big. But in recent years, it's taken off. So what are you gonna walk away from in this lecture? So first, yeah, you're gonna learn some odds and math. I know it sounds crazy. We're not talking anything super complicated, but we're gonna learn some odds and math because that's really what sports betting boils down to. I'm gonna teach you how to place a bet and how to do your homework on that so that maybe you win money, maybe you don't. It's up to you. And then we're going to talk a little about sports books, how they operate, but mostly we're also going to dive into that big question of why. Why does this matter to me? If you're a math major, if you're a sport management major, exercise science, if you're in these areas that evolve around sports, kind of weaves its way into your domain, right? Think psychology as well. Well, sports betting follows right along with that. And sports betting is not a new concept. It's been around for years. So how does that play in, and why does it truly matter? So as my friend here with his thumbs up kind of shows, why should we care about the sports betting industry? Well, last time I checked, reports say it could be up to $5 billion here soon. $5 billion as an industry. That's a lot of money. And as a whole, you can't turn on the TV if you're watching any sporting activity now and you hear about betting lines and how this plays into what we're talking about, how this works together. Sports betting industry is huge and growing, rapidly growing. So there also a little bit of the history that goes behind it. There's been scandals before in sports betting. As with everything else, there's always some scandal. And religion tends to play into this in unique ways, right? And throughout history, where we've seen a lot of the Puritist movements, and there's other ones where we get away from everything that's might be causing people to not be socially acceptable. We've seen that happen in the United States. Sports betting kind of took a turn towards that Puritist angle. With the Black Sox scandal of 1919, famously shoeless Joe Jackson. And in that scandal, the team was fixing games. I mean, they were taking bets, and people were trying to place a bet, so they had players throwing games and taking bribes. Not truly an indication of sports betting, but overall societal how it can impact it. Before 1919, you could go to mostly any professional baseball stadium and walk in and place a bet inside the stadium. And for essentially 100 years, or slightly more than 100 years, that hasn't happened. Pair that with overseas in Europe, you walk into a soccer stadium, you can go place a bet. It's very common. So teams are sponsored by sports betting websites. So very common thing. We've seen at Boston College, there's been issues. Pete Rose, famously in baseball, betting on the game. Tim Donaghy was an official with the NBA. So we've seen a lot of scandals that are there. Coincidentally, and talking with people from the industry, the sports bettors and the sports books are the ones who actually can catch a lot of the cheating that goes on and match fixing, because they're the ones who see all the bets coming in. And in today's digital domain, it's even easier. Every person has an account. You place a bet, you have an account, so I can see how much money you've put in, taken out. Very simple. So why is it growing? Supreme Court in 2018 overturned PASPA, or the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act. And in PASPA, overturning that, it essentially allowed And it said prohibited 46 states from licensing, sponsoring, or authorizing sports betting. I see Nevada was exempt from that, so was New Jersey. Or no, not New Jersey, but it was exempt from it. Now, we had states that were fully authorized, they could do it. And there was a push to make this happen because this is a way to bring money back in. You had states that saw what was happening in Colorado with the legalization of marijuana and how much money people can make on that. States can make on it off tax it. You legalize it, tax it. They had this very much of a mindset of essentially an excise tax or a sin tax on gambling. And they wanted to do it, legalize it, make money from it, tax revenue. It's an added great, and people are already doing it anyway. So you might as well bring it to the light and legalize it. So the overturn of this by the Supreme Court opened the floodgates. States are coming online since 2018. I think we're up to 20 states now, and more that are coming, especially now with COVID, and states are trying to find added revenue sources. This is a new one that's right there for them if they want to do it. So let's talk about some odds, and we'll get to this a little bit later as we begin to look through what it actually looks like. But there's three main types. There's fractional odds, there's decimal odds, and there's the American or money line odds. Fractional odds, where do we typically see these? We see these in horse racing. Horse racing is a common spot where we come across them. If you watch the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness or any of the major races, I guarantee you'll see on the left side of the screen or right side of the screen or somewhere on the screen the odds of the horse. And it usually might just be 10 or 5 or whatever. That's always over 1. An example here, so 10, if a horse is a 10 to 1 odds to win the race, then you'll see that as meaning for if you wager $1 and that horse wins, you get 10. In total, your total payout's 11. So there's different ways to look at it. We're going to look at the odds calculator towards the end. So fractional odds are there. Be aware of them. Very easy to translate. If you see 5 to 2 odds, that means $2 to win 5. Also, or slightly more favorite. The lower the number, more favorite. Decimal odds are very common over in Europe. They're also known as European odds. Sometimes we look at sports books. A lot might do some decimal odds. Very easy to calculate and figure out what you're doing. There's a simple formula to figure this out. Your stake times the odds equals a payout. So there's a great odds percentages is there as well. But so let's say an example. So let's say the odds are 1.82. That's what it comes out to. And you want to bet $100. So $100 times 1.82, the odds equals $182 or $82 in winnings in your $100 bet. The decimal odds are pretty straightforward. Now let's get to what a lot of us see, and if you watch TV, any sports thing, I guarantee you're going to see money line or American odds. Okay, so what the money line odds are based off, everything is based off 100 units. Doesn't mean that you have to bet 100 units, $100 to do anything. You could bet $1. It's just a percentage down. So let's go through some examples. Minus is always going to be the favorite. If you see a minus any number, it's a favorite. And they say it's minus 210. So let's use the exact opposite here, the Jets. So let's say the Jets are minus 210, which if the New York Jets are ever a favorite, we'll be surprised right now. But minus 210, which means that you'd have to bet $220 to win $100. So your total take would be $300. An example down here with the Jets, if it's the underdog or the dog, you have to win. You win the amount that is in that amount. So if it's plus 220, the Jets win. It's a miracle. You get $220 on your $100 bet, so your total payout's $320. Okay. Something very important to figure out. Always, and we'll see this with the calculator in a second, figure out your implied probability. Everything is probability, right? Everything is probability when we're talking about gambling or sports betting. what's the odds of this going to happen? And when bookmakers make books, they always set up and they leave a little bit of extra in there called the vig, and the vig is the juice. It's their profit margin essentially. So you're always thought percentages add up to 100%. In sports betting, not so much. It could add up to 110, add 120. Just depends on where we're looking. So important to figure out your implied probability. Then you figure out the implied odds, and you can realize that it takes that betting number of minus 220 or plus 300, and you can figure out the probability of that. And then that makes it more understanding, like, oh, the sportsbook saying it's only a 30% chance that this team's going to win. I have a feeling it's going to be higher, so there might be value there in that pick. So let's take a look at some examples. Let's minimize this, and let's come here. Oops. Let's go back and share this. Let's go here. So what we're looking at now is a website that I like to go to called Don Best. And a lot of people bet NFL games. And there's really 4 bets that you can make in an NFL game. You can make anything. There's prop bets, lots of things that are out there that you can do. But really your 4 main bets are betting the spreads, the totals, the money lines, or spread and totals together. So what do I mean by spreads? So if we come here and we click spreads, what this means is on October 18th, so Sunday, the Chicago Bears and Carolina Panthers are playing each other. And this gives you 6 different sports books to look at with odds. It's important as you go into this to really, if you're going to try and bet a lot of money or do this more than just a casual hobby, to really learn how these books kind of build their books out. A Williams Hill is a more analytically driven book. Bet MGM Sportsbook. The Superbook is in Westgate. The Golden Nugget is another one. DraftKings is there. So understanding DraftKings is another analytical one. What sports books are ultimately trying to do is they're trying to get to a number. They want to get to a number as to what's the spread going to be in a game. The analytics help that to try and crank out a model that can predict what this spread is going to be in a game, what the book believes it will be. Because the sooner that a sports book can get to its number, the better it is for the book, because then they're not taking bets on either side of that number. They know what the number is, and they can carefully build their book out by taking bets to manage the risk associated with that overall. So they're making money. And it's a very detailed art that goes into building a sports book to be profitable. So understanding those. But your first bet that you commonly see is a spread. And we see right here on the 18th, Carolina is actually the favorite. Carolina is the favorite at minus 2.5. So what that means is Carolina has to win the game by 3 points. There's no half points in football, so it has to win by 3. If you select Carolina, and you select Carolina to win the game, taking the spread, so Carolina minus 2.5. And let's say the Bears, let's say Carolina wins, but it's a 1-point game. Carolina did not cover the spread, so you do not win any money. If I bet the Chicago Bears at plus 2.5 or whatever, they don't have to win as long as they keep it within the spread, then I win money. So pretty easy bet to see and set up. It's very fun. If you watch Scott Van Pelt on ESPN, he actually has a segment called Bad Beats. Bad Beats refers to spreads, where you see sometimes a last-minute buzzer shot will go in a basketball game. and the spread might have been 7, and that buzzer that took it to that took it within the spread. They're like, oh, it's a bad beat. Should have had it, something. And tell you what, people actually investigate that to make sure there's no mischievous actions going on. Second one, we come back here to money lines. And money lines are just that. Here's where you see favorites coming in again, minuses kicking in. So Carolina is minus 150. That means that they're the favorite, and you would have to bet $150 to win 100, as opposed to the Bears, where I bet 100 and I win 130. So different ways, and these are just straight up odds, straight up. Now let's take a look at a little bit of the calculation of this. So remember, Carolina's minus 150. We come here, let's take our bet. So let's come to our bet amount would be 150. Odds here, minus 150. So there we see what came out of this calculator. Put in my bet amount, minus 150, so I'm betting 150. I'm coming out, my fractional odds are 2/3. My implied odds are 60. 60% likelihood that Carolina will win. And if it wins, my payout's 250. Now let's look at the Bears. So remember 60. So if you select the Bears and the Bears win, your payout's $230. Common thing in sports books is they like underdogs to win. We paid out less, right? So it's there. But odds are 43. So if we add 60 and 43 together, that's 103% by 40%. So that means that the book is taking 3.48%. Do this with games. See how different books have different things laid out. We come back over here to this, we can see here's 145, 125, different aspects. So utilize your resources available to you, but also makes watching games a little more interesting. As a researcher, I look into this myself, and I want to know out of which one of these books actually performs the best. As an analytic, can I validate the book's odds as being the best book out there to go with? And industry looks at it, but then which one should I place a bet with as we're going through? And how does this all lay out what we're doing? So with all that being said, sports betting is a fun topic, one that sometimes, depending on where you go, social circles may have it one way or may have it another. But it's very fun. It's a fun way to explore this crazy industry that is sports overall. And regardless of your major here at Coastal, what you're looking at, whether it be recreation sport management, math, psychology, a lot of those sociology, a lot of those all play into how books are developed and how people operate. Even business ones, some marketing and some of these other roles all play into how do I get people in, what's the business behind it, and everything else. So thank you again for listening. And my name is Dr. Schlereth. Feel free to find my information and reach out. Happy to help. Thanks.